the topic tonight is who or what is God? And are we even ready for a deeper knowing of who and what God is? And what better person to talk about it with than a spiritual and physical healer and counselor, Tobias Lars. How you doing tonight, Tobias? Thanks so much for being here tonight.
Hey, Christie. Good to hear your voice.
Oh, what an awesome topic to discuss tonight, and I just thank you so much for tackling this with us. We're kind of just going to jump right in, huh?
Yeah. No pressure, the ultimate question, what is God? But like I told you, let's start with a small topic. That's great. So.
Well, okay, wow, where do we begin? I think I was reading in your book, and a chapter is S&M Spirituality, the game of submission and domination. Maybe you can kind of talk about that, and you get into Earth being a free will zone.
Yeah, Earth is a free will zone. Not all parts of the universe are. And we've often heard that angels don't have a choice, in a sense. Or in some traditions, we've heard that the angels are conscious, fully conscious. They're a different order of being than humans, and they can't choose. They can choose, since we have the fallen angels, but there's also orders of beings that really can't choose not to be part of the creation, i.e. not to follow God's will. Humans can. On Earth, it's a free will zone, and some traditions say it was an experiment. The word experiment, every language has its hints in it. If you look at the word experiment, exit the perimeter of the oneness, experience. When you go out into experience, you are leaving the safety of the womb, the safety of heaven, the safety of a system, and stepping outside it. So some traditions teach that our experience is stepping out, exiting the perimeter of the oneness here on Earth to try our free will, which includes that you can decide there is no God, there is no spirit, there is just materiality, and you can sort of be as bad as you want to be, in a sense, on Earth. And certainly we've got a lot of evidence of that all around us. And that's why people get that question. Well, why doesn't God just step in and solve all these problems on Earth?
Yes.
Well, one of the reasons is because it's a free will zone, and this is not every planet, not every universe, not every galaxy in the universe. The universe means the song of one. Universe means song. And so here on Earth, we are small gods. I mean, even Jesus says it plainly, you are God. And the original, when Moses writes, we made man in our image, implying plural gods. It's very interesting, the hints they're left with. So yeah, it's a free will planet, and therefore we can choose to become very degraded souls, but we can also always choose to go back home very quickly, anytime we really decide.
Wow. Okay, now that opens up a whole can of worms, because, I think the problem with people recognizing this choice, or what I find the most limiting, is that people are afraid of the responsibilities associated with making that choice.
When I was in the Amazon with ayahuasca shamans, one thing that this ayahuasca brew that you drink, which is 100,000 years old, the anthropologists will admit it's at least 10,000 years old, but it's much older than that. It really confronts you with the fact that you are in charge of your destiny, of yourself, of your soul. And that's a very powerful thing. Any master that has woken up on this planet has been very powerful. Jesus could materialize things, fill his body with light, float off the ground. So can yogis and other masters, Babaji, Krishna, Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi, Paramahansa Yogananda. There's a long list of them, and then there's other beings as well. And it's time that we tell all about this, because we don't want to know, because if others can do it, that means I have to deal with doing that for myself and inside myself. So there's been a collective of, no, Jesus was uniquely created. And I know this is, this is like stepping on a hydrogen bomb sometimes, but, I understand. But every teacher that has come has said, look, I am the way, the truth, and the light, but I'm the model. You got to do it yourself. I'll help you. I'll coach you from the side of the pool. I'll jump in and save your butt at times. But if you don't want to swim, you're going to sink. It really is up to us. Yeah, really, on this planet.
Well, I mean, regarding that, just a couple quotes I'd like to share from the Bible. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, Lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. The Lord be not far from every one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. I think the original teachings, or what all of these religious texts are trying to get through, is that it's us, it's within us, not what we're being taught in today's society, where, the government is our God, and that we need somebody else to come save us. I mean, we have it within us.
Yeah.
Right here, right now.
Absolutely. And when you read that, it was so comforting to me. It was like a reminder. I actually felt this comfort come into me as you read that. And I grew up in an atheistic country. I didn't grow up with any, religious programming, but I used to love to go to Pentecostal churches. And when I was like 18, 19, 20, I would visit all kinds of where I would feel spirit, and I would meet mystic Christians that had real relationship with Jesus. My own sister was completely saved and had a direct experience with Jesus. I had a vision dream with him one night. All religionism is an ism, this ism, that ism. Can we just dump all that, like John Lennon said, Isms are schisms. Isms create schisms, and forget it. It's done. It's over. We're done with that stuff. So, it's beautiful that we have, and that, when you feel love inside you for your cat or your dog or your child or your partner or nature, you can feel the upwelling of the real source within you, and that is the kingdom of heaven within us. And that's the only thing that's ever going to satisfy. No outer teaching, except as an activator for that, is ever going to satisfy you. Buddha said it directly to his followers. I'm just like you. I'm just like you, and you can do look, I'm right here. Touch me.
Absolutely. Same thing Jesus said.
Exactly.
I mean, and a Buddhist quote, the same thing. And, what he said is, this very mind is the Buddha. Every being has the Buddha nature. This is the self.
Yeah. And that is, and it's a funny thing to watch, when someone starts expressing it, whether it's in a big, huge way, world teacher like a Jesus or Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha, which is just a word. Buddha is just a word that means the awakened one. Just a title, sort of like saint. Buddha is the same word as saint, really. And but when something like that happens, others, there's a tendency for us to, I have to worship you, or I have to give my power to you. And this is what creates the mimicry, because there is a lot of mimicking spirits that pretend to be teachers and then get people to give them their power. Now, a real teacher will try to avoid that as much as possible, that worship, that adulation, that giving your power over to them. They'll keep saying, no, I love you, and I'm here, but, and I'll coach you. And that's why sometimes they just have to leave us, because we cannot we become fanatic. I mean, hello, talk about paparazzi. Could you imagine what kind of paparazzi Jesus would have? You know?
Exactly, and then we just trade one dependency or one master for another master, and yeah, absolutely, we fall into that cycle. I love this, another Buddhist quote says, why not seek in one's own mind the sudden realization of the original nature of true thusness? If we understand our minds and see our nature, we shall achieve Buddhahood ourselves.
Yes, I love that. Beautiful. Beautiful. And
well, that's what's so amazing to me, though, is all the different religions that people, we start all these wars over all throughout history over God or religion. They're all saying the same thing, but it's been so twisted around that it doesn't matter which one of these isms you choose, you're going to be taught slavery, not true divine revelation.
Yeah, and that's the learning the hard way. And because of the free will zone, large spirit, large God, big God with a big G, the source of all that is, has stepped in on Earth several times in our history. Most of them we don't remember. We do remember the last big stepping in, which was the flood in the Bible, or the sinking of Atlantis, which was at the same time when the Earth had a huge shift and a huge continent sank in the middle of the Atlantic. And we do remember there are times when big consciousness has to step in like a parent and go, you're about to ride your tricycle over the cliff, I can't let you do it, But the experiment can't be micromanaged, and so that's why we're left to our own devices to create, some really nasty stuff. And we're at one of those choice points again now on the planet. We are creating critical situations, and we're all feeling it collectively. But the beautiful thing is the awakening. And one of the awakenings that's really going to happen is there's going to be no more allowing to feed off of others, and no more leaders are going to be allowed to feed off the people, misuse power. All that is dying. And you can see it all around us. Now, it might be a very hard way.
Let me ask you this, though. Who is going to disallow them? I mean, aren't we allowing that?
Yes, that's true. And yes, absolutely. Total free will.
Once again, it boils down to self and our own choices.
Yes. There's also destiny choices for planets. Earth has a choice for herself, too. She is an aware consciousness, just like the sun is. So, in a sense, Earth, we're not going to be allowed to override Earth's free will by killing her. So, you understand? Now, God, big God, always has multiple universes for souls to explore, so free will is going to be completely possible. One way that many people see this shift coming, and the deeper I feel into it, it feels true. And it's hard to see. It's sort of like, we're fishes in water. How can we possibly know there's air above us, So some of these things get hard for the mind to hold unless you've gotten to that place. But there might be a separation of dimensions. The Bible refers to that as the separation of the wheat from the chaff, or the rapture, which has been misunderstood. But there's seeds of truth in all this stuff. There's something called the Book of Life, or the Akashic Records. Akasha is like a fine consciousness, pieces of energy, like photons. It is like consciousness, right where consciousness starts to manufacture the energies that make up the atoms and the protons and so forth. This fine Akasha is the finer astral heavens worlds. Well, there are places in those, the Akashic Records, that's the universal library, and it's called the Book of Life in the Christian religion, where everything that has ever occurred and ever will occur, in a sense, and this is where it stretches our minds because of free will. But so you can read all this directly because we are connected to all that is. We are pieces, we are chips off the block of God. Ye are gods, let's make him in our own image. So you can go inside yourself and read the book of life, the Akashic records, and know all things in heaven and earth. We're meant to do this, and we have the power to do that. Prophets were basically tapping into that level of understanding or seeing, and millions of us now are doing it. So this thing about preserving free will, I just wanted to finish it. If Earth is not to be destroyed by overpopulation, pollution, nuclear bombs, mind control, Illuminati stuff, etc., then there are times when there is a dimensional shift, like a frequency shift, where Earth can move into a parallel reality. In other words, there are multiple Earths, multiple universe, quantum physics, string theory. So some say that there are now even, there's dimensions we don't see right now, many of us, and many of us are starting to. The fairy kingdoms, the Celtic, the Avalon, the ancient Druids, the nature kingdoms are very real. The ETs, the UFO ships, that's all very, very real. It's just a different frequency, just like tuning to radio stations. Mm-hmm. So this separation of the wheat from the chaff, it might go unnoticed, but where those spirits that are service to others, that are open-hearted, and I don't mean mushy open-hearted, I mean the real deal, they will separate from the spirits that are into dominating, controlling others. And those addicted to needing slave masters will go with the slave masters to other planets and other dimensions. And that is the separation of the wheat from the chaff. That is one explanation. It's hard to explain, but that's one way to put it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. How? Let me ask you this, because you also talk about why we fell from grace to begin with. And I really like what you say here. I might not be able to use all the words on the line tonight, but if you could explain or kind of elaborate on the dominator paradigm.
Okay, so a lot of us now are waking up to the fact that, yes, there are some sort of nefarious people that have run our planet, and they're very well hidden, and they pick our presidents, and Obama actually knew when he was 21 that he was going to become president, and the CIA has time travel experiments and all this kind of stuff. We're waking up to the Illuminati control paradigms. We're waking up to the banksters, as you call them. We're waking up to the New World Order and all that kind of stuff. Now, so why would this level of soul control be allowed on our planet, some people would ask? Why would a loving God allow that to happen? The reality of it is, from how I understand and how I notice experimentally, actually doing it in my personal life, if I don't have, and this is where it gets interesting because people can get very angry, they immediately bring up child molestation as the ultimate test of this theory. Mm-hmm. I understand. It's horrible stuff we've been through as souls. But there's no way a planet in the universe, now there's other thousands, millions of other planets, and some are completely free and completely connected to Source, to God. Others are much worse than Earth, if you will. But this happens only when there is a disconnect from the spirits themselves on the planet. And it can just be a little one, like the Princess and the Pea, your Achilles heel, that old Greek, the Greek god story. Your Achilles heel is going to need to be what? Healed. You have to heal your Achilles heel for you to be a complete whole, holos, holy and healed. Healed and holy is the same word in Greek. So, long time ago on Earth, if you read the Akashic records for Earth, back when all the landmass was one mass, Pangea, where the god Pan was the manifestation of it. But there was a turning away from feeling that we were beautiful enough, strong enough, and deserved to have direct communion all the time, I am that I am, with the source of the universe. When we felt, and there's some reasons why that happened, we felt we didn't deserve to have direct communion with the Creator, then a vacuum is created that is filled in by non-God, non-source, and that is what we term evil. And it steps in, and it is like a giant acupuncture needle saying, wake up and become gods again. That's the only purpose for evil, is for us to take our power back. When you notice the Illuminati have power over you, doesn't that piss you off?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you want to take your power back and say, get the hell out of my life? Take your hell and get it out of my life?
Absolutely.
Well,
but
that's
you know what? We're waiting for them to like be nice all of a sudden. Oh, I don't want to hurt you anymore. I mean, don't hold your breath, because we have to take our power back. Yes,
and any torture, sort of something that makes you speak up and say back off, that is helping you take your power back. Yes, like you can even pick a human relationships. You know. It tended to be, although it's not that it was switching male and female roles now, but it's tended to be that the man has been controlling, the masculine has been controlling over the feminine for some time on Earth. But there were times when the mother was in charge, a long time ago. But so in relationships, the way that's shown up is the woman has often had to learn to go, back off, don't tell me who I am, and don't cross my boundaries. Yeah? And in a way, the evil, stupid, unconscious male, but let's not call it that. It takes two to tango, and you don't tango unless you got something to learn inside yourself. And that's the hard part to see. But yes, it is. So doesn't that help the woman in a sense, even if it's an unconscious male that's sort of, calling her fat and stupid, and finally she goes, I'm not fat and stupid. Back off, get out of my life, and I'm going to become a goddess, And that's really right. a wake-up call for her. And then, the man can wake up, and then vice versa, too. There can be clinging, spidery, black spider women. This is not taking sides that the men are all wrong or the women are all wrong. Not like that, It really does take two to tango. There is a yin and yang thing going on here on the planet. So this evil out there, whether it's your local school board corruption or I don't know what, or it's inside your relationship, or it's the Illuminati trying to microchip the population and, have one world government, it's all there right now to snap us out of it, to go, I'm a god. I'm not going to take these drugs they prescribe to me. I'm not going to take those vaccine shots. I'm not going to let, money rule my world the way it has. I'm going to get free. So that's the wake-up call, to go back. And when you're sort of drugged and asleep, you need some serious cattle prodding sometimes. So the cattle on Earth right now, which is us, are getting some serious prodding and wake-up calls right now.
Wow. Isn't that the truth? Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's food for thought. I hope I'm definitely going to have to listen to this again, but it's just your words are so wise, and everything I'm hearing is truth. And the bottom line is about setting us free.
Yes, and waking up and being
yes.
Well, yes, it is, because we are gods. Every teacher said so, meaning you have amazing powers. We all do. And we have amazing love, and we have amazing understanding. And in the Garden of Eden, which was a real place, Pangea that I alluded to, Pangea was a real place about 5 million years ago, although time back then didn't function the way time does now. Time is not static. Time is not stuck. We've all noticed, holy cow, it seems like time is speeding up right now. So what does that tell us? It doesn't tell us, obviously time is something that was made up. Who made up time? We did.
Who made up religion? We did.
Yeah, we made up, time is not a static, solid thing,
The good thing about this, because we all have the choice, as you said, and, the two sides of that is people can look at the choice and think, oh, that's way too much responsibility, or that's just too far-fetched from what I've been propagandized with. Or the other side of the coin, people could be listening and think, wow, that is so easy. And you actually talk about that in your book, God equals simple, easy. And to me, it's just so beautiful and enlightening and empowering to know how easy it is, that everyone can do this right here, right now. You don't need to wait for somebody else to unenslave you or, oh gosh, you know, we're running out of time. We have about a minute left up in this break, or in this segment. But if you could kind of sum up that God equals simple, easy.
Yeah. On your path home, the more complicated it gets, the more you're getting stuck in your mind or in your head. The more, like if you ever see those lawyer commercials where they've got all those books behind them on a shelf that's supposed to intimidate you. It's paragraph, section 302, statute, this and that. The law gets more and more complicated. They need to add more and more books every year, and it doesn't work. God has one law, and Jesus said it. He said the whole of the law is love. And so on the way home, it gets simpler and simpler. Now, you and I are talking about some, this is pretty mind-expanding, heart-expanding, soul-expanding stuff. But I want to emphasize, and I can feel Spirit saying too, we start exactly where we are. And it's not for anyone to feel, oh my God, like you said, I have so much responsibility, I'm such a screw-up, and how can I possibly ever become a God again, That's not what it's about. It's very, very loving. My sense of real God is very loving and takes you exactly where you are and helps you with your next step. So you need to stay grounded and connected with your next step, and you know what's right for you. So I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead now.
Well, no, very good advice. Let's talk about what is religionism.
Well, it's a word, but it's like any other ism, and it is where that pure impulse, you could say, that pure, beautiful connection that you see in our children, we see it in nature, in animals, in our pets, that self-conscious, direct connection with love, with God, with Source, all that is. It just feels good. And then the followers of this person or being that has come and brought this amazing opening, in a sense you could say a true awakened human is a stargate. We are an opening, a crossing. We are a crossing of other dimensions and other worlds into this world when we become an awakened human. Jesus Christ was a crossing. It's interesting he used the cross as a symbol of the other worlds to come into this world. And now the followers go up into the mind, like I was making fun of, joking with, with the lawyers, with all the little books, you just add more and more books and rules, and it doesn't work. You can't rule things. You can't make people behave by morality. You can't legislate morality. It doesn't work. But so the followers of a teacher usually will then come in and try to make rules of what they said. And that's where the religionism starts. The word religion is I think it's Latin, religio. Ligio is the same word as ligament. A ligament is a beautiful thing that the medical community cannot recreate. We cannot make that substance that ligaments are made out of. And it means to reconnect. So the original purpose of religion is to reconnect us to God, to ourselves. But the religionism is whenever the organization itis, it's very much like arthritis, right? That's it.
I mean, isn't it interesting, though, that religion, we're talking about God tonight. God did not make religion. Right. Man did.
Yeah.
This whole religionism thing, Wow. What we're experiencing is a heck of a lot different than reality. And it's just so, gosh, what's the word I'm grasping here? Because this is so difficult. And I don't want to offend anyone or say the wrong thing. But, you know, when it comes to religion, aren't we killing people every day over this very topic? And our beliefs associated with the religion that we've been indoctrinated with?
Yes, of course. I mean,
isn't that the opposite of spirituality or enlightenment or God? I mean, I thought God is love.
It's a tangled mess, and we're trying to untangle it right now. And God is love, but there is a wisdom. And we all know that song by the Byrds and the beautiful passage in Ecclesiastes where there is a time for everything under heaven. There is a time to kill. There is a time for destruction. There is a time for that. So, and this is where it gets difficult, because if you start saying that everything is going to be happy, happy, love, love, joy, you know, that type of thing, that's true. But when you watch a true master, why did Jesus curse the fig tree? Why did he kick the tables over and tell those money changers to get the what out of my Father's house? You know, he really did that. So we can't namby-pamby or sugarcoat true spirituality. When people come and see shamans sometimes, real shamans that are working in the flow with nature, and they see them cut the head off a snake, then the little nice spirituality, New Age type stuff, sometimes, oh my God, we can't kill anything. It's not quite that way. Yes, we're going towards a place where the lion shall lay down with the lamb, but while we're getting there, we are separating the wheat from the chaff. They're like icky, sticky spirit energies. You can call them demons or, you know, vampire energies, and all this is true. And pretending they're not there doesn't make them go away. We also need to learn power in the sense of saying, get out of my Father's house, the way Jesus himself did. He went up to the temple. Could you imagine going up to the Capitol here in the United States of America? How would you make it through the security, you know, checkpoint and
easy.
Go, you know what I'm saying?
Easy, I mean, because God is within me.
Yeah,
there's nothing to fear.
There's miracles every day, and there's real life. Since we're all made from this source, from Big God. Now, I personally like to have, I don't feel as big as God yet. You know, I am not at the place where Jesus says, I and my Father are one. But he does say that. And other teachers as well. So I like to have a personal parent. I like God as a daddy. Now, others like God as a mother. In India, for instance, one of my favorite teachers, Paramahansa Yogananda, he really looked upon God as mother, and he had to change that when he came to America in the 1920s, because we couldn't have handled the fact that God could be a feminine aspect. But it's starting to happen more and more now, too. Now, you can approach it from, I am God. Yeah, that's true, but, you know, the proof is in the pudding. If you've truly merged back with the oneness of everything, you will know that, and you'll have certain powers of levitation and so forth. Patanjali, the 11th century saint, describes in detail, he catalogs these powers of levitation, walking on water, telepathy, you know, being able to travel to other planets. He catalogs this in detail in his book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And those sound suspiciously a lot like what Jesus and other masters did. And those are just outward expressions of when we truly start going back towards that. Now, love is the key. That's why a very public teacher and master and avatar and savior, yes, of the human race, like Jesus, will come and say, love is the key. The whole of the law is love. If you look in your body, the way Leonardo da Vinci creates the Venusian man, that famous thing inside a circle, the naked man with his arms and, you know, that's a famous Venusian symbol. In the center of him is his body and his heart. And the heart is the regulator of our 7 chakras. We have 3 below and 3 above the heart, but the heart is the pivot point. So in the mystical teachings of all true teachers, they tend to go after your heart, the heart of the matter, get to the heart of the problem, because love is a dissolver of everything. Love rules the day. Love is the final judge. Love is the final arbiter. Not thinking, not understanding, not power. There's beautiful stories of the monks during the Russian Revolution that walked right through the battlefields in the middle of thousands of bullets, completely unscathed. You know, so we can have these miracles in our lives if we cultivate love, not sappy love, not programmed love, but real love. Real love is very different. If you want to learn real love, go hang out with wolves. Go hang out with a lion. They respond. They respond to real love. But if you got any fakey love, they'll chew you up.
Very good analogy. You know, I wanted to, somebody sent me a beautiful quote the other day, and it just seems so appropriate right now. I'd like to share. Oh, goodness, and I don't even want to butcher the author's name, but love the animals, love the plants, love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in things. Once you perceive it, you will begin to comprehend it better every day. And you will come at last to love the whole world with an all-embracing love. Fyodor Dostoevsky. That's the best I can do on his name. But,
yeah,
I mean, that just hit me. Isn't it? It just really hit me.
Yeah, beautiful. And those are the moments we live for. That's why we send $5 billion worth of Hallmark cards to each other. You know, that's why we go. That's why we go to the movies, because we want to get what? We want to get moved. We want to feel emotion. Motion, energy in motion. That's why music rules the planet. Finally, we go, forget all of it. I just want to play music. Right?
Yeah. Isn't that sad that we have to go to movies to be moved or to be entertained?
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about love, and there's many perceptions of love, some real, maybe not so real. Would you mind tackling the misconceptions that we might, have come to believe in this materialistic society we live?
Around love?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Pure love is the innocence, in a sense. In no sense are we born. Innocence, in no sense are we born. And then from this we're torn, and so begins our earthly sojourn.
Wow.
That just came up. It's a little poem, and I have a book of verse, too. That word poetry drives everybody up the wall. But so love can get contaminated, too. That's why I used the lion example. You know, there's those stories of when you're vibrating pure, the cobra comes up to you, and he lays his head at your feet, because you can't fool the snake at all. The reason we're so scared of snakes is because it represents our reptilian self. Our reptilian brain forms first in the baby, and we've come to, there's a misunderstanding. I've got a chapter in the book about that. Moses and the garden and the serpent revisited, where I speak about an experience I had, and I know I enter on touchy ground here because there's all kinds of teaching about that the reptilians are evil. Yeah, that's true, but so are some of the angels. You know, no race and no group of people is all good or all bad. It's usually a really good mix of, 80% of the people are just following everyone else, and then there's 10% that are really pretty rotten and 10% that are really pretty good. And that's this. So I had an experience in the backyard of one of my friends. I said, when I contacted a huge reptilian being, like a dragon, the Chinese dragon, or the mythical dragon. And it was really a being like us. And I know this scares some people because we have such programming against the snake and the serpent. But they really are just representing, they are a reflection of our own reptilian part of ourselves. When you're 8 weeks old as an embryo, you're pretty much a reptile. And if I don't know if I got the timing exactly right. So this is the reptilian part of us, in the sense the very intuitive. You cannot fool a snake. You can fool your dog a little bit because they get programmed by us as humans. But the snake will not join the human world. It will remain in the primal world. And therefore, if you can have your peace vibrations, your oneness, unity vibrations, calm the snake, and that's why the yogis have those stories, which are true, of the cobras coming up to true masters and literally laying their head at their feet. That's why Shiva, one of the head gods, the top three gods, you got Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Shiva, one of the biggest gods in the Hindu pantheon, has literally cobras wrapped around his neck, and the Nagas and all this stuff. And I know David Icke talks about the reptilians and all that. And there's truth to that. There's some really, really bad reptilian beings. But when you incorporate your intuition, your level of being able to feel your gut feelings, the way you are that connected to yourself and your reptilian brain, you can't be fooled again. Now, love has become a battleground. Women have used glamour, and I'm talking now all the way back to Avalon and Celtic times and the mists of Avalon, all that, where women would actually put on the glamour. They would appear differently than they are, and they would seduce men. The sirens would seduce the Greek sailors, you know. All that has basis of truth to it. Look at the makeup industry in America today. Holy cow, do you ever see women sometimes with so much makeup on? You go, is that a clown? Is that a clown or is that a woman? What is that?
I have seen that. Oh, yes.
And I'm not, you know, and so there's this love can be faked from both sides. And usually you'll find a partner that will be a perfect mirror reflection for you. It's all physics. What you vibrate out is what you get. What comes around goes around, you know. It's all perfect, ultimately. And the only reason we bitch and moan and complain is because we haven't woken up to the full awakeness yet, you know. There is a spiritual physics. And when you see it from the big perspective where I and my Father are one, you go, oh, I get it. It's all perfect. It's all good. It's all God. It's all exactly the way it's meant to be. When you're inside your human condition, you get fooled by image. The way you can test love, a little child will say inappropriate things, will they not? They don't.
Well, I mean, whose perspective? Who says it's inappropriate?
Right.
I mean, it's innocent and truthful to them. I think we should listen to children more often.
No, I agree. What I call we'll judge them as inappropriate. I love it. I get a total charge. I have a story in my book one time of this 5-year-old that was at someone's house, and the little girl, she gets the attention of all the adults, you know, and they've just done a baptism at the church and all this. And the little girl goes, I just learned a new rhyme. She's about 5 years old, 6 years old. I just learned a new rhyme, Mommy. Can I tell it? And she gets all the people, the whole, 50 people's attention. She goes, ashes, ashes, right? That she goes through that poem, and I can't remember it right now exactly, but instead of saying ashes, ashes, we all fall down, she goes, aw shit, we all fall down. And she did it in front of everybody, and I felt all this love and laughing, and I was just loving her, and her mother was so embarrassed. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's real love. That's real love. That's real love. Oh shit, we all fall down. That was real love. And then the programming came in, oh my God, I can't understand why in the world, where she would have learned that and all the embarrassment. That's the not real love. So that's
yes, that's the conditional love.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm almost speechless here.
Bring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, we all fall down. But I could feel my heart and my body and my spirit just feeling all this love and laughter. That's your guide. That's your guide. Follow the energy. We are basically good. We're not born in sin. We're born in innocence. We have original innocence, not original sin. Humans are born in original innocence, not original sin. Follow that.
Thank you so much for saying that. I've never been able to, not that I've ever known the answers, but this original sin thing, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I think it's another tool that's being used to make us, bury a burden of, say, guilt or shame, and therefore looking outside, looking for the masters, the preachers, the teachers, the government, or everyone else to tell us what we need. Because after all, we're sinners, we're guilty, we're not capable of accomplishing anything on our own.
Right, and that's when the programming gets twisted into that. And this doesn't mean that of course there's wonderful priests and teachers and religious people. But we have to be very careful because our good intention. Hitler thought he was a savior of the world, and so do our religious leaders. Nowadays, and so it's that good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The people that keep this sacred religion going, but they beat their children, or they are willing to not be nice to the human part of us. So we know what real love feels like. Follow your laughter, follow your fun, that's why comedy is like the devil cannot defend against comedy. I love watching those roasts on TV. I mean, I love it because it's like total freedom of just no holds barred, and you're gonna laugh. It's great. So that's a way to know. Real love, let me tell you, God is not offended by the F word. He's not. It's not a big deal. God is not offended on some little back planet in the middle of some galaxy where we've created one little language called English that has 4 little letters to it. God is not going to get all upset if you use the F word. Get real. So,
that is so, we're laughing about it. But, gosh, what can you do but laugh about it? Isn't it funny how, oh, my gosh, you said that word, you're a sinner. And now they're, even charging people and citing them with misdemeanors or offenses. And actually, in some states, if you say that word or use the bird, flip your finger 3 times, you can actually be put on the sex offender registry.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. Over a word.
So it's one of so yes, picking the wheat from the chaff. Follow your energy. If your energy feels, and I'm not talking about, you got to be careful with this. It all has its place. We need rules until we don't. I had friends I went to high school with that the Air Force Academy was absolutely perfect for. It helped them have structure in their life. But sometimes we need structure. It all has its place. And then after we can rule ourselves or we can be self-directed, then any kind of structure becomes a prison. Government has its place. All us libertarians and hopeful dreamers out there, government will fade away when we become the law in our own heart. So if you are a true libertarian and you truly want to shift the planet to waking up, heal thyself first while you're doing the outer work and watch government fade away.
All right. Well, I'm not going to put Russ off anymore. He's been so patiently holding. Thank you and welcome, Russ.
Well, thank you, Christie. Good evening. Tobias, it's awesome that you're here with us again tonight, and that I understand you're going to be joining us a couple times a month. Awesome. I just, while I was listening to you and reading the chat, somebody brought up about they have a lot of blank spaces in their mind, and I thought about the vast void that is accessible through my mind, the fact that I can travel to the planets and even further and beyond, and that I can remote view, and that I can, transit out of my body and do all those things that have been spoken of. But what I find most fascinating is comprehending and understanding the fullness of this creation and the importance of mastering and staying in the moment, both in the waking and sleeping state, and the life that exists there. And I hear so much of that in what you're defining, and I'm blessed and awesome that I get to be here and be a part of that. My question, sir, is where does the wrath of God play into this? And then there's a second part to that, depending on your answer.
That's a great question. When we disconnect ourselves enough from our own selves and we fight ourselves, we're shadow boxing in a sense, you can create very real situations. Beings that incarnate as cops and robbers. There was a great movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks where Catch Me If You Can, a true story where they became friends, after he caught him. He was, and that happens a lot, Al Capone and so forth. Souls will actually flip between good and bad type thing. Wrath of God, now that's a huge topic, because there's been times God has several layers, just like we do. You are more awake or less awake at different times. God immanent, God transcendent. You could say God transcendent, meaning big universal God, really has no wrath. It is absolute acceptance and full exploration. God immanent at times has stepped in on the planet, from my understanding and from what I hear directly, and there has been times when God, working on behalf of the bigger God, has been somewhat ticked off and wanted to slap us upside the head. There's some truth to that. It's a bigger topic. There's also been mimicking gods. I would suggest that Jehovah and Yahweh is not God transcendent. That is a mimicking alien God that is pretending to be God. And that wrath is just pure selfish wanting to control beings. So you have to be careful to sift the differences here. It's not simple black and white. It can appear that way very much when we're getting a wake-up call that we're getting punished by God. But in a sense, we're asking for it times as well. There's a lot more to that. It's a good question. It's a big topic.
Well, I believe that the only way that I get punished by God is as a son, he chastises me, and I welcome that chastisement because out of it comes a better me. But I don't believe in that punishing God other than once you've got to deal with him. But I do want to ask it in the form of a question, your understanding and knowledge of a set of spiritual laws that if we live outside of them, we're going to experience the wrath of God, and he didn't have anything to do with it, but that he set the plan up that way in the first place.
I agree with that. It's spiritual physics, I call it. In other words, if you are outside of your love or your center or your spirit, you know what it feels like. Now, you have to be careful from mimicking conscience. The word conscience, conned by science, or conned by spiritual science. Conscience can often be actually just guilt. Now, real conscience is when you can feel the spirit of your own soul as it is one with the universal God. That will tell you, don't go there, this isn't for you, don't be with these people, or you were harsh with that person. And that's what Christians call being convicted in the spirit. That is very, very real in my experience. But again, you have to be careful to sift the wheat from the chaff and know when it's guilt versus real spiritual conviction.
Just everything, huh?
Yeah.
Tobias, thank you so much. I'm gonna pass it back to Christie and let her ask all of her questions or other callers. You are appreciated. I look forward to hearing you again soon. Thank you so much. Be blessed.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, something you said just really sparked my interest and curiosity. Conscience.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you elaborate on that a little more? Because we hear so much about being conscious, and I guess we automatically equate that to being aware or enlightened, but if you break that word apart as you just did, it seems like there might be a little deception going on, or word games going on.
Yes, conscience, I use that because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm following my conscience, but when you feel it, it's really their programming and how they were brought up, and it's really input beliefs. Real conscience, and that's why I joke about it, conned by the science of your, conned by mind programming conscience.
Yeah.
A lot of conscience, if you feel it, again, back to your gut, back to your reptilian awareness, and I'm trying to give a little plug for not all reptile awareness is bad. I'm kidding. We get so much, we got to find a scapegoat. We got to find someone that's the devil, No one did yet,
why would we take responsibility?
Yeah, exactly. So let's stop doing that, because killing each other and making each other devils, not such a good plan. Conscious, but I hadn't thought of it with consciousness. That's an interesting one, but
conscience, where does it come from? Or what is our conscious?
Well, I think it is that innate sense of, that doesn't feel good to me or right to me. Now, we're not all the same. Someone else may bravely tread into that room where for you, that is where angels fear to tread, that they're very comfortable there. So what is healthy for one spirit can be unhealthy for another spirit. It's just like a 5-year-old. You can't try to teach calculus yet to a 5-year-old. Or you can't tell them about, there's a natural progression and growth, and as spirits we are growing as well. So someone that could very well, like St. Anthony, also known as Hilarion, which was one of the first saints about 130 years after Jesus, who was in an Egyptian tomb and actually had Satan appear to him. Now, he could handle that because he's, but we need to go step by step, and God knows that, and your inner true conscience knows that. But programmed conscience is often just another name for my guilt programming that I received, growing up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, but I guess that could also attribute to some of the confusion. Are we following our gut, our conscious? What really is that feeling of love and all of these other energies that we experience? Is it, wow. When you know something's in the gut, you literally feel it in your gut. And, I'm aware of we are aware of the heart, brain, and even the gray matter on your gut, literally, your intestines. So, it kind of makes me come to the question, I guess, if there's 3 brains, could that have something to do with, say, the triune God that we hear about?
That's very interesting. All models, I would suggest, are approximations. That's why every teaching says the ineffable, meaning you can't say it. You can't talk about it. Those who speak of it don't know, that thing, So they're all models. They're all approximations. And every scientific theory is just a theory, and every religious theory is just a theory, and here we are as humans talking in a format that's across radio with language. So obviously it has to be in a not complete or fully effulgent, fully expression of the gods. We can't do that in this format, So that's a cool model, though, that you just brought up. Yeah, God is the head. He's the heart. God the Father is the head. Feel this one. God the Father is the head, all the wisdom, the understanding, the Moses, the prophet, the long beard, the guy with the white beard. Jesus is the heart. He's the feeler. He's the heart. He's the pivotal, hung on the cross. And the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, that tongues of flame and fire and power and dancing, that's your gut. So You just created a model that is as accurate as any other model, Christie. Absolutely.
Wow. All right.
You could start a whole church with just that.
You know, I somebody has suggested that before. It might be the Church of Christie, but I've also been called the Anti-Christie, so I don't really know where to go with that.
You need to do both. Yeah, otherwise, you need to balance it. Today I'm a good Christie, today I'm the Anti-Christie.
The Anti-Christie Church of Christie. All right, here at Truth Brigade Radio. We have a couple callers on the line. Our first call is area code 972. Welcome to the show.
I just had a few questions about what you were talking about earlier, and I don't mean to drum anything back up that might have been talked about, but you're talking about conviction and your consciousness, and I was just curious what your thoughts were. Where does conviction come from? Where does that manifest from? Where does that conviction come to you from?
And my sense of that in my own life is when a part of me, a part of my soul and spirit is still with the Father God or Mother God, the source of everything, with God. And when I keep that channel open, it always communicates to me much better than any fiber optic cable. It's sort of like the ultimate fiber optic cable. If you have your fiber optic cable open to God, whatever form you call God, but real God now, then your conviction comes directly from that, which guides you absolutely impeccably and perfectly in your life.
I guess what my question is if you deviate from that, though, if something happens and you don't listen to your inner conscience or you don't listen to that conviction, then what happens to you? Who is the one that judges you? Who is the one that comes against you and corrects you? Is it yourself? Is it a higher being? Or is it, that's my question.
Yeah, both and more. Both and more.
Okay.
You can say from one perspective, I'm then, I'll get, Satan has, from some religious traditions, they'll say, well, Satan then, has power over me. True. Or you can say, I'm waking myself up, I'm stubbing my toe against spiritual physics, is also accurate, meaning we know if you clog the river, it doesn't bring healthy water. So if you clog your flow in your life of your Holy Spirit, of your soul, of what you know is right, then the world will wake you up. So there's many ways to say that. You can say, oh, I'm really getting chastised by God. That's one way to say it. Some people will go, well, why they don't like that way of saying it? They'll say, oh, I'm noticing I'm getting feedback from the world that I'm off track. Both are accurate, I believe.
That's very interesting. I appreciate you answering those questions. I'll let Christie get back to her next caller. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for calling in tonight, Kyle. All right. We've got just a few minutes left, and it looks like we have our friend Kathy on the line.
My question is this. Is evil man-made? Was it here before we created it or gave it a name, or what do you think?
My sense and understanding of it is that it is our freedom of choice, free will again, to choose to be outside. Or we are the creators. We are the God. We create by our filtering mechanism. In other words, we are, when you do a slideshow, you have a pure white light in a sense, but you have to put slides in front of it, right? We choose what slides to put in front of it. So even evil, even the most debased soul, Lucifer, Satan, and whatever, all that stuff is still part of God. In other words, in the big picture, yin and yang, black and white, and I think it's in Isaiah, God just plainly says, too, for as far as Christian religion goes, I created evil, too. And so it really is, there's no way to get outside of the creation. But you can put on a play and pretend to be the bad guy for millions of years or eons if you want. But ultimately, it's all source energy. The forms will die. They'll wake up. That's why people say, Hitler.
Well, people like serial killers or serial killers and really diabolical crazy, done. I mean, would you call that evil?
The actions are evil from the inside perspective. Of course it is, and you step in and stop that as soon as you can catch them. You don't let that flourish. But those souls are not damned forever. It can seem that way. On the other side, like that near-death experience you talked about, time doesn't function the way it does here. You can create what seems like eternity, but there is no time because time was created.
So can the souls of like serial killers and stuff, can they be de-evolved? Will they take a step backwards? I've even read by Ruth Montgomery, I think it was, that those kind of souls will be extinguished. The flame will be blown out.
You're touching on a very touchy subject. There are some souls that choose their way home to God as they want to go to sleep forever. They don't want to exist. Now, that's a real Pandora's box to bring up, and it'll set off amazing conversation.
Oh, and just in time for the end of the show. You guys got to call in sooner.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tobias. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, wow, one can of worm after the next. Tobias, instead of every other week, we might have to bring you on every week if your time and schedule permits. Thank you all for being here tonight and sharing and living and learning with us all. We are all students and teachers of each other, and we can experience that peace and create our heaven by living in love in the now, and do it now. Abundant blessings and love to every one of you. I hope to see you tomorrow night at Truth Brigade Radio.